Hey, yo. This is General House alongside Radio and Weasel. And this was going out to all the potential ladies in the world. True.
The first thing you have to understand about Uganda is that it's charming, beautiful, well-run, prosperous, and so peaceable that quite a number of white South Africans have moved here to avoid the violence in their own country. That's what makes the anger which most people here seem to feel against gays seem even harder for outsiders to understand.
I'm also against homosexuality because it's totally against our culture, more especially here in Uganda.
Sexual is very bad because it is not in order to practice it.
On cultural grounds, religious grounds, why are you against it?
On religious grounds.
Yeah, with homosexuality, I as an individual, I have a very negative attitude towards it. I don't believe, and anyone in normal senses could not believe that a normal man can have sex with a fellow man.
It is a sin. You can't have sex with another man. This is really contrary to God.
However pleasant Uganda is, however thoughtful and articulate its people, its 48-year history as an independent state has occasionally been traumatic. For much of the 1970s, it had to endure the nightmare of rule by Idi Amin. Beneath the gentle surface, there are all sorts of tensions, political and ethnic. Maybe some of them help to explain the fierce attitudes here towards homosexuality. But essentially, most people in Uganda feel the entire practice of homosexuality is morally wrong, evil indeed. So when an ordinary member of parliament put forward a bill which proposed life imprisonment and even death for some homosexual acts, there was strong support, both on the government side and among the opposition. As you can see, Parliament here owes almost everything to the Westminster model, and Ugandan politics are usually pretty orderly, even though the President has been in office without a break since 1986 and seems to be shaping up for yet another term in power after next year's elections. But the similarities with British politics disappear directly you look at the proposed legislation against gays. When you read it, the text of the homosexuality bill is pretty fierce, pretty draconian, and at the same time rather disturbingly loosely drafted. The penalty for a homosexual act is life imprisonment. So is the penalty for a homosexual marriage. But death is the penalty for what they call aggravated homosexuality. That's to say, if the person you have sex with is under 18, or if you have HIV, or if you're a continuous offender, as the bill puts it. But here's what I mean about the looseness of the phrasing. Under Section 13, the promotion of homosexuality, it says anyone who acts as an accomplice or attempts to promote or in any way abets homosexuality and related practices commits an offence and is liable to a big fine or imprisonment from between 5 or 7 years. Now, what does in any way abets homosexuality mean? I mean, does it mean, for instance, a doctor who treats a patient he or she knows to be homosexual, helps them in that way? Perhaps a lawyer who helps them find ways of getting out of trouble? It's too vague. Be that as it may, government ministers approve of the bill's approach and will give it their support when it comes before Parliament soon. This is Uganda's splendidly entitled Minister of Ethics and Integrity.
I'm sorry that in the Western world you've got it spectacularly wrong, because out there the impression is that we are after gays, want to kill them. That's what they've been told out there. And the truth isn't that. What we are seeking to do is to make a statement for our society. Homosexuality is an abomination. It's not something you talk about. It's like if I were to come to UK and I encouraged you to marry your late brother's wife. You know, you wouldn't think that is possible. You don't think it's civilized. Now, those kind of strong feelings are what we have with regards to homosexuality. For us, it's an abomination. I understand for societies in the Western world, it's a human right. Now, that puts us rear at loggerheads. From our point of view, which is informed by our culture and spiritual values, it's an abomination, full stop.
Contrast that with the issues in Uganda, social issues in Uganda. You have key issues. At Amnesty International, we talk violence against women as an issue that is quite rooted in the patriarchal nature of the society, not just in Uganda, but across sub-Saharan Africa. You look at the issue of corruption, which is an issue Parliament is currently embroiled in. Those are big, weighty issues, and you look at the need to pass legislation to deal with these social, economic, political issues in the country, and yet this bill finds space in the Ugandan legislature. You could go to the extent of relatively calling that persecution. Yes, indeed.
That's certainly what gay people here believe, that their treatment now amounts to persecution. This is one of the few places in Kampala where they can gather in safety. It's called the Tea Cozy Bar. I've come to hear the views of a group of activists, educated, well-to-do, and certainly not intimidated.
Homophobia around. And of course some state agents, like state ministers, like the Minister of Ethics and Integrity, he has always been uttering statements that increase homophobia within the Ugandan society. And people have been hostile, but at least there was a level of some understanding. But then when the bill was introduced in Parliament, it totally changed. People became hostile to these people they already knew as homosexuals, and they started now verbally attacking them and physically attacking them.
Yeah, very, very, very afraid. With the bill now, if it passes, of course, we have already the bill, we know the repercussions of it. But also we must know that this bill has been brought up by some very, very determined people, and they are spreading so many lies, the worst of which is homosexuals are recruiting children in schools. That's why they included a clause penalizing promotion of homosexuality. So if the bill passes, it's going to be very, very dangerous for us. But even if it doesn't pass, already people pushing for this bill will feel defeated or will feel that they need to take the law into their own hands. We have already had people utter things like, we shall handle you ourselves. If you're intimidating the MPs and the president and all that, the international community, we shall handle you ourselves. So it's, whether the bill passes or not, the situation is going to be very, very bad.
I would safely say it's two-sided, because before some people didn't believe we existed. Others were like, homosexuals? No, it's not possible. Those do not exist. But after the bill was introduced, I think it really increased the visibility of gay people in Uganda, because they actually realized that we are really, really here to stay. We are very many people, not as few as they used to think, because before they used to say, those are just confused. That's the way they act. It's not normal, it's not allowed. They're just confused. But now they actually, some people have come to acknowledge that actually people do exist who have that way of life.
Uganda has had laws against homosexuality for virtually all the past century. They were introduced in the old British colonial days and represented the standard thinking in the West at the time. Attitudes there have changed, but not here. Some of the loudest voices in favour of the new bill come from the evangelical churches. From this man especially, Pastor Martin Semper. Pastor Semper started off as a Catholic, but wasn't allowed to become a priest. He swung over to the evangelicals, though without belonging to any specific church. Now he preaches every Sunday to students at Makerere University.
That is a taboo, an abomination, and evil in the sight of God.